Alright guys, we just finished Cannonier versus Vettori, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on most of the card, not the entire card, because they weren't all that fun like every week. But overall, it was a damn good card, and let's start straight away with that main event, Cannonier versus Vettori. Oh my god, Vettori's chin is on another level. Honestly, Vettori needs to be very careful for the next 24 hours. You can't be surprised if that man just sort of drops dead in the hallways backstage. The amount of damage that he took was insane. Jared Cannonier just set a record in the division for the amount of damage that he put on Vettori. I think he could hit Vettori with a Fiat and that dude wouldn't go down. The kicks and punches of the fight, it was damn exciting. I wasn't actually expecting much from this main event because I'm not a huge Jared Cannonier fan. I find him to be a pretty boring fighter most of the time, certainly for his last couple of fights. So when the action started straight away and it really started to kick off, I couldn't believe the fight that we were actually getting. And as the fight was going on, I was so happy to see that there was some energy and some life inside of Jared Cannonier, but I was also super worried for Vettori and his fight IQ. Like, the dude is tough. He comes out to the Rocky theme song and he fights like Rocky, but Rocky in the first movie, the Rocky that takes a lot of damage and is just a step behind Apollo Creed the entire time and has the living piss beaten out of him. That's the kind of Rocky that he was tonight. Not the good Rocky 4, Rocky 5 Rocky. You know what I'm saying? That kind of Rocky. The problem was he just came out early in the round like he was believing that he was going to win it, and then Cannonier would put it on him and Vettori would just sort of jab his way and try and keep him at distance and keep his hands up and survive. He didn't go for any takedowns. He didn't go for any wrestling or clinch work. He literally just came out full energy at the start of the round and then went into survival mode when that plan wasn't going to work out for him. On the flip side of the coin, when it comes to Cannonier's side of the game, Cannonier fought a very, very good fight. But let's look at the man's cardio. Oh my god, his cardio was unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. I don't believe the amount of cardio that 40-year-old man just pulled out of the bag. It was the best cardio he's ever had. He's been USADA tested twice this year. Okay, all right. Look, maybe those meditation crystals have got a very special power in them. But let's assume that it's all above board and this 40-year-old man just did double his cardio output. Good on him. Good on him. Like, he must be super focused. And maybe he is. Maybe he realizes that he was this close to the top. He nearly won himself a title. His last couple of fights haven't been that crowd pleasing. And if you're not a crowd pleaser, it's going to be very hard to get another chance at the title. So at this age, you've got one shot left. And he actually put it all to work. We know Cannonier is a very deep thinking man. You know, he's going to think and be calculated about his career. And maybe he was. It's very easy to speculate when someone comes out with that level of cardio. But it's also something that I talk about a lot on this channel, is where you want to see some fight IQ and you want to see a smart fighter. And maybe Cannonier has crossed that bridge. We've now got a fight in the fighter. He's willing, he's going out there angry, and he's also thinking about it as well and has some real fight IQ about him. So he's gone from someone who I wasn't particularly impressed by or particularly excited to see in any of his upcoming fights to someone now that when Cannonier's on a main event, I'm going to be like, okay, all right, I'm here for this. I'm very much here for this. The problem is, though, do I want to see him go against Izzy again? No, but who else are we going to watch Izzy go against? I mean, I'll be 100% open to my bias here. I want to see Izzy go against Robert Whittaker. I want Robert Whittaker to beat Duplessis and go against Izzy. But if that's not going to happen, if Whittaker's not going to get the fight, because Whittaker can be a boring fighter too, maybe Cannonier is the best choice. Maybe I really got to rethink my whole anti-Cannonier is a boring fighter life choices. And that means that was a great main event. It was a great main event. It entertained me and it really made me switch sides on which fighter I want to see going forward now. As for Vettori, Vettori really needs to take a step back on his career and do what Cannonier just did. Have a think about it. Have a think about where he is. He isn't as old as Cannonier is, so he's still got a lot of career left in front of him. But the skill set that he showed tonight really does put a cap on him and really does put him in his place in that division. It's going to be very hard to keep moving up that division if we don't see you start working in a bit more wrestling and a bit more dynamic fighting style into what you've got. Because right now, all you've got is just standing there, jabbing at range, and you've got a chin that could withstand a nuclear bomb. And well done. But that is not going to be something that gets you very far, especially since the top of your division is Robert Whittaker, Israel Adesanya, and apparently Jared Cannonier. Very, very skilled fighters. Let's move down the card a little bit, guys, to Arman Tsarukyan. What did you think about this sort of fight? To me, it was a little bit of Arman exposed a little bit. He was going against a fighter that was coming in off short notice. He's ranked number 8 in his division. His opponent wasn't ranked at all in his division. And the first round looked how it should have looked. But the second round was a very interesting round, wasn't it? I don't think he should have made it look that close. Luckily, he did come out in the third round and put a finish on him, but I was listening to the post-fight interview. Sarukian was saying that he needed to take that fight because no one else in the top 10 would take that fight because they're all scared of him. I don't think after tonight, they are that scared of you. I think you got a little bit exposed as to where your skill level really is. And maybe it was just a young fighter coming in with a lot of confidence because the person that he should be fighting is not ready for a challenge like Sarukian. So in the back of your head, you can almost take the night off. And especially after that first round, you can almost take that night off. And then, all of a sudden, a minute in the second round has passed and we're actually in a proper fight here and need to be a little bit more switched on. And then when he needed to be, he was. So maybe it was just a little bit of a case of that. The question is, though, what do you do with Sarukian now? Lightweight is such a clogged up division. It's so hard to make it into the top 5. Here's what I think we should do. And here's what I would like to see. Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor aren't going to be fighting this year. Chandler's talked about openly walking away from that fight. And I know Chandler gets all the Dana White privilege in the world, but I want to see some movement in lightweight. Chandler just lost his last 5 against Poirier. He is barely in the top 5. Sarukian has won his last fight. He's in the top 8. I think a loser in the top 5 should go with a winner in the top 10. Sarukian versus Chandler. Book it in 3 months' time. Give Sarukian a chance to heal up. Get Chandler at least one fight this year. And let's get lightweight moving, please. And properly moving, where we have a bit of fluidity between number 5 and number 10. Let's get that section going a little bit. Can we, please? Yeah, that would be nice. Okay, the most interesting part of tonight's fight card was referee Keith Peterson, no? He had a bad night coming in smelling like alcohol and cigarettes tonight. Firstly, there was the stoppage between Sarukian and Silva. Silva didn't need to take that much damage. As much as I love to say that it was an early stoppage, that one might have been an early stoppage, but Silva didn't need to take that much damage. Peterson could have stepped in there 8 punches earlier and really ended that fight. But then you go all the way down to the prelims in one of the fights that Peterson was looking after, which was Lawrence versus Argueta. Lawrence is on the bottom. In round 1, there's a guillotine around his neck, but he's in survival mode. He's got that Volkanovski mindset. He's going to grit through it. And Peterson doesn't know whether or not he's out and grabs his arm and pulls on it to see he's awake. Lawrence, who's underneath and can't see Peterson, tugs his arm out of the way. And in the movement of all that happening, it slaps against his opponents and Peterson calls it a tap, and that's the end of the fight. And it's like, hang on a second, Peterson, what have you just done? I don't think Lawrence is going to get a win bonus now. I don't think Argueta is going to get a win bonus now because the whole thing was called off. And that's 2 big mistakes in one card. So once again, Keith Peterson always brings a little bit of fun to the fight nights, doesn't he? A couple of other fights that I wanted to go over was Petrosian versus Christian Leroy Duncan. And it's funny that we're talking about fight IQ again because Christian Leroy Duncan needs some of it. What the hell was going on out there? I'm talking about dropping an axe kick, spinning wheel kick, Superman punch. All of it is missing. And then at the end of the fight, he's got this look on his face like, oh my God, I think I lost that fight. Oh no. Like, yeah, dude, you lost that fight because you were swinging at air like thinking you're in some kung fu movie rather than just, how about a jab? Yeah? How about a teep to the body? How about a 1-2? How about just some basic striking when you're going out there in the first and second rounds? And then if you're winning on the feet, then you can start playing around and trying to put together a highlight reel like a Sean O'Malley. But to go out there and that is your game plan from round 1, next time I see your name on a card, I definitely will not be picking you until I start to see a little bit of fight IQ come through. Because right now it's just all energy, no IQ. And that is not going to get you very far, especially as you want to start climbing your way up the rankings. It's not a good start at all. So that's another one that just go over to Cannonier's place, get a crystal, sit down, meditate, and just think about what you're doing. Because it is a dangerous job to just be going out there thinking you're in a video game that can't get hurt. The fight that I wanted to talk about was Hernandez versus Bondar, purely because it had such an odd ending. Now, to me, I would have just called it as a clear stoppage, and they were a little bit up and down about whether or not it was out when the slam happened. But the fight was allowed to continue to happen for like a few moments after the slam, for all that damage to be rained down on him. And that's when the referee actually stopped the fight. So to me, it doesn't really matter what happens before the referee stops the fight. He stopped the fight because of the damage that was going down on him. You know, if someone hurts their leg in the middle of the round and then later on there's a KO, they don't be like, well, you know, he hurt his leg, so actually it's a doctor's stoppage. It should technically be a doctor's stop. Like, I understand because they were so close together why there was a little bit of confusion around it, and I can see why they chose to make it a decision, because it was almost like an illegal body slam headbutt at the end of the fight. But when it comes to the referee's discretion, the referee chose to let that go on and then called it as he saw it and stopped the fight accordingly, which either way led to the same decision. So the whole thing seemed to be a giant waste of time for no real reason. And yeah, I just don't feel like you can go back and change the outcome of a fight once a referee's called it off because of something that happened during it. And I think the only reason that we're even having that conversation for this fight is because it happened so closely to the end of the round, if that makes sense. Overall, the card was really fun. I really enjoyed it. The only problem with it was that we had to stick to the ESPN timeline. I cannot wait when this ESPN deal is over because it just slows the fights down. There were so many first round, second round finishes, and then you just end up sitting there for half an hour before the next fight even gets started, before we even start the walkouts. By the time the clapper goes and the next fight actually does start, it's been like half an hour of adverts. The ESPN deal is slowing the UFC down, quite frankly, at this point. And you have a card like this where it's a really fun card, but the downtime is just... But I don't think that's going to change in the near future, so there's no point continually whinging about it. Overall, the fights were great. I really enjoyed it. What was your favorite fight of the card? And what do you see next for Vettori after a beating like that? What do you see next for Cannonier? Do you want to see him fight Izzy again? Should we keep him as a backup fighter in case something goes wrong? He's put himself in a really interesting division, and now, all of a sudden, the top of Izzy's division is starting to get a little bit clogged up again, which is good to see, because Izzy does need to keep churning through these rematches. He is just that far ahead of everyone else at the moment. Anyway, guys, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video.